Hey everybody, it's Ryan from Oakland Ghost here with a really quick Deluge thing. I'm working on this new song. I just started it. I've really only got 2 tracks. This one's an alternative, but it got me thinking about a complaint or criticism that I see about the Deluge all the time, which is talking about that Deluge sound. And I don't think it's a fair criticism or critique, really. It's because the Deluge, what's really cool about it is it can kind of sound like anything you want. It is limited to 2 oscillators, but that's more than I need most of the time. And it's got 2 LFOs, it's got the envelopes, it's got tons of modulation that you can do with it. It's pretty versatile and it can really sound like anything you want. I mean, you got subtractive synth, FM synth, wavetable synth. You can load single cycle waveforms into the oscillators. You can load samples into the oscillators. I mean, it could really sound like anything you want. And if it can't, you can sample it and multi-sample it. So that criticism of a Deluge sound, I think, is a little unfair, but I think I understand where people are coming from. And I think what I'm doing here showcases both what that is and why it's kind of bullshit. I think what people are talking about when they're talking about that Deluge sound is they're talking about the presets. And admittedly, the presets do have a certain sound. There's a bit of variation within the stock presets that come with it, but in general, I'd say they sound a pretty similar vein, which in my opinion is kind of a 90s, more electronic synth kind of vibe. Like, I mean, here's an example, right? Here's a... this is just a random one I picked, was a synth bass 3. And I'd say, they're not all that different. They all have that kind of sound. And I think when people are saying that Deluge sound, this is what they're thinking of. And the reason they're thinking of that is because, if someone's doing a tutorial video, they're probably not spending a lot of care and time in their sound design because they're trying to showcase a concept. It kind of gets stuck in people's head that this is what it sounds like. Or you're seeing hobbyists, or you're seeing people just noodling around, and your natural inclination before you've kind of learned the instrument is to default to the presets because they're there and you just want to make some music. That's not to say that I think these presets are bad in any way. I've actually made a couple songs with them as a starting block anyway, and I think they turned out pretty good, and I've heard some great songs made on these. I think it was a stylistic choice by the developers to kind of make them sound this way. It's what they wanted to hear. And also a lot of these sounds were created before the numerous firmware upgrades that have occurred that have unlocked even more possibilities. That's what people say is a Deluge sound. And what I'm saying, what my argument always is it can sound anything like you want. Now, I've got 2 tracks here that I'm going to play for you real quick. I'll just stack them on top. It's only 2 tracks. This is as far as I've gotten to this song, but this also represents hours and hours and hours of work. But it's all the internal synth engine and effects engine. That's all I'm working with. I mean, just listen. I mean, if that's the Deluge sound, sign me up, baby. This sounds awesome, I think. It sounds lush. It sounds beautiful. I mean, here, compare and contrast. Look, we'll throw that bass back in there, which one we're looking at, the synthwave bass. I mean, you can hear the difference. This doesn't fit. It sounds more flat. It sounds more cheap, almost, I guess you would say, on its face. Now, I might be able to tweak this sound and make it fit. I mean, some of the lows are okay, but I think you can pretty instantly see the difference, right? And what am I doing? I mean, I'm not doing much here. Let's just bug into here. So this first one, this is a kit track that so what did I do? I built a pad using the internal synth engine. I think it was a sine wave and an analog triangle maybe combined. And I made some tweaks, and all I did was hold one note. I held C, and then I resampled that. I dropped it back into here as a kit track. So it's just this one song. That's it. That's all it is, right? It's one note. But then I went into automation view and I started doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Let's go back a bit and see if we could take a look at some of the things I did to it. Because this was mostly just because I wanted to play with automation view. I haven't done it yet. So it looks like mostly what I've done. Okay, I did a master pan that's kind of sweeping. So the whole thing's sweeping back and forth all the time. Okay, that was the first thing I did. The next thing I did is I went into the resonance, and that's what's giving us some of these beeps. Those. But it's also breaking these up too and giving you almost a beat. In fact, let's mute this guy for a second here, so you can hear just this track. So again, this is what it is. I mean, so this is playing with the automation view, which is from the community firmware. This is a new thing. What else did I do? I think I did some reverb tweaks, so those beeps get accented and feel a little more roomy. And then I messed with the delays, which is creating that kind of break beat. Those kind of things, right? And then the last thing I did, I think, is I just added, so bit crush. I'm adding these bit crush little bits in here, and that's creating that. So now it feels like there's almost a beat. All this is, man. Again, internal synth engine, resampled back in. It's a single notepad that I've been tweaking in Automation View, right? Again, this is all it was. That's all it was to start. And now it's this. I mean, that's bonkers. Again, contrast that to this. Right? The Deluge can sound like anything you want it to. Okay, and last thing. Okay, this is just a patch. This is started off as a patch from the boards of Deluge called Possibly. It's just the first one that I went on. It just had a nice little melody to it. And what have I done to it? I mean, I've tweaked the resonance. I've tweaked the messed with the low pass filter a little bit. I'm sending the frequency to LFO1, and LFO1 I have set up as a sample and hold. And it's really light, so it's barely changing stuff that much, but it's in there. And then I have the resonance kind of going to random a little bit, just so that every heat's a little bit different. I've done some crazy stuff with the delay, because we have delay syncing now, so it's on quarter notes, and it's really low, so that over time it'll start creating a polyrhythm. But listen to how lush and stereophonic that all sounds. It's just all internal synth engine. That's the Deluge sound, baby. It's anything you want it to sound. So next time you hear, I just don't like that Deluge sound, that's someone who doesn't know what they're talking about. Get out there and jam, guys. All right, that's all I got for you today. I'll see you next time. I'll be sure to upload this one once I finish it.